All right, moving on. Prime Minister Modi has virtually inaugurated 103 Amrit Bharat stations across 18 states from Rajasthan 21 months after the Amrit Bharat scheme was launched. As a part of the scheme, over 1,200 railway stations are set to see a much needed redevelopment. The positive part is that 103 stations have been given a makeover within the first 21 months alone. This includes Mumbai local stations, 19 railway stations in Uttar Pradesh, and others. Currently, India has 136 operational Vande Bharat trains, and with these 103 Amrit Bharat stations, the rail revolution in India is underway and ongoing. We'll talk about this with our guest. Joining us on the platform is Mr. T.S. Ramakrishnan, railway safety expert, Mr. Dikshu Kukreja, town planner, Dr. Sharad Kohli, senior economist, also with us on the program, and Professor S.K. Singh, HOD, Department of Civil Engineering, Delhi University. Dr. Kohli, I'll begin with you. Well, of course, this is something which goes hand in hand, Dr. Kohli. You can't have high-profile trains and not have high-profile stations. And of course, for the longest time, the railways has been a lifeline of India. And, time has been testament to the fact, Dr. Kohli, that whenever a country has gone leaps and bounds ahead in its economy, it's the road structure as well as the railway infrastructure that has taken it to those heights. And we seem to be on our way quite admirably there.
Good evening, Vineet. Good evening to my fellow panelists and Newsx viewers. Yes, I'm sure you, me, and my panelists, and of course, a lot of our viewers have traveled abroad. And there's one thing which stands out every time we board a train or we board a flight. Of course, let's leave out the flights for now. But every time you reach a station in any one of these developed countries, and some of them so-called developed countries, is that the railway infrastructure. You don't have to think twice between making a choice to travel by air or by train, of course, if it's not a long distance, because you feel that the train is as comfortable as a flight, and sometimes even better. In fact, the facilities at the railway station are far better. They are cleaner, they are leaner. You get everything there. It doesn't feel like. In fact, a lot of times I have seen families when they travel abroad, they comment on the railway station, well, that this is better than our airport. That's what they have to say. And I think this particular sentence was pinching because, as you rightly said, having trains like Vande Bharat, and tomorrow, in some time from now, we're going to have a bullet train as well. To be having railway stations which stink, to be having railway stations who are deteriorating in terms of their condition, to be having railway stations who lack facilities was obviously a dent on the whole railway infrastructure. And that's where the thought came. And that's where I think the Amrit Bharat concept emanated from. Now, I'm so glad that 103 have been done up, and, I'm dying to visit if you ask me. I'm really wanting to. I remember my spouse, every time I ask her to accompany me on a train instead of flight, she says, train is fine. We can probably book a second class AC or a first class AC or whatever. But I don't like the train stations because as you move closer to the train, it stinks. It really stinks, and the infrastructure is not good. So I'm so glad this is happening. You can't even imagine the kind of benefit it will provide, not just to railways, but to countries' travel mechanism, the whole travel ecosystem with the country. As railways, as they say, is the lifeline of our country. It will provide accessibility, it will provide cleanliness, it will provide access to the disabled, to the specially abled. You will have food shops, you will have shopping at the railway station. The whole railway station is an experience by itself. It's not just running and boarding a train and just getting out. And every time you alight a train, it's a place to relax, it's a place where you feel comfortable. It's a place where you like to spend time. Obviously, you don't reach the railway station at the last minute. There are many a times when you reach an hour before, an hour and a half before, you've got time to kill. Now, this is not a place now which is going to be a time to kill. It is going to be a place where you're going to relish spending your time. So I think it's a very welcome move. And, with 1,300 of them coming up, another 500 going to come up in the next 2 years. I'm sure this is something which was much, much awaited, because railway station experience for each one of us, was definitely not the best of experiences. And I'm talking, I can probably draw the analogy from the airports, which used to be, 10, 15, 20 years ago. The airports used to be similar, those dilapidated airports, they looked like bus stations at that time. And look now, you go to any airport in the country, leaving out a few tiny airports, every single airport is an experience, and that's what the aspiration is, to try and reach the level where airports have reached, that these railway stations should be a pleasure to visit, a pleasure to board a train, a pleasure to be alighting on these railway stations. I think it's an absolutely welcome step. Congratulations to the whole country, not just to the prime minister and people. I mean, the whole country needs to be congratulated, because trains are something which run through our life, and they connect us so well to the entire, each and every corner of the country. I think very welcome step. I'm really looking forward, Vineet, if you ask me, for all of these to be completed, another 500 in the next 2 years, and probably 1300 anytime soon. And more than that, I'm looking forward to visiting, and look at the economic benefits, Vineet. Those many more jobs being provided every time you go into a renovation project. There are people employed, there are contractors employed, there is more material consumed. It adds value to the economy. It adds to the infrastructure. And this is part of government's initiative of, it has now exceeded 100 lakh crores. And I think the Vix Bharat 2047 dream, this is very key element of the dream, because a developed country is a developed country when you also reach the railway station and you feel that, yes, this is the place, which country should be proud of. That's what country is aiming for. And I'm sure this 2047 dream is more achievable now with this big step, Vineet.
You're absolutely right, Dr. Kohli. The Vix Bharat ambition is the goal here. Mr. Ramakrishnan, your thoughts on this credible movement that the government has put into motion, and this is not something which is directed towards a certain class or a certain a group of people. This is something which is for the whole nation. This is something which is all encompassing when it comes to progress and transformation.
Exactly, because unlike airports, we can say that only the upper 20% of the population has been using it, whereas as far as railway stations are concerned, everybody is using it, irrespective of the economic strata, educational strata, social strata, whatever it may be. So everybody is using it, and I would like to tell the genesis of this, because when Prime Minister Modi, when he was at the time the Chief Minister of Gujarat, he inaugurated Vadodara bus station, and at that time he raised a point: if airports can be so nicely built and then maintained, and then with all the convenience and comfort, and then he refers to the Vadodara railway station, Vadodara bus station also, saying that if Vadodara bus station could be constructed like this, so beautifully and so elegantly, what stops us from developing the railway station to this level? So that was the genesis point, and that was there in his mind even before he became the Prime Minister, and that's how actually the whole dream of converting the Indian railway stations to world-class stations, where all the facilities are being provided to all the commuters. So it took so much time, because this is a new concept, new idea, whereas in airports and all, we have built it only in the last 20 years, and because of that we are able to build everything afresh with lot of state-of-the-art facilities. Whereas if you take the railway stations, some of them are even 150 years old. So, and many of them were constructed at a later point of time, and they were all not constructed for the sake of by bringing all the facilities, like for example facilities for the Divyang, or the cleanliness, or the future crowd. So we have not, or the connectivity, access and egress connectivity. There are plenty of issues that were not actually considered. So, and in the last 150 years, our population has grown from say maybe around 20 crores to, I'm talking about the period where Indian Railway was introduced in 1857. So from 20 crores to 140 crores. So certainly the number of people who are traveling by train has increased enormously, and all these things actually have very has put a lot of pressure on the railway stations. So unless otherwise railway stations are built and then developed to the new level of standard, it cannot serve it. And moreover, there are some interesting aspects to that. Although The stations are developed very modern with modern features. Every station has a theme to it, because I have seen some of the stations constructed without any theme. They are like concrete jungles. But as far as this particular Amrit scheme is concerned, all of them are having a clear theme. So each and every, in India, each and every place has a theme, whether it is a cultural theme, or it is a social theme, or it is a economic theme. There is no place without a theme. So all of them have been incorporated in this. For example, Kumbakonam railway station was based on Chola architecture. So this is a very interesting aspect. The same way, you take any other station, every station is done like that. So on the one hand, it should be aesthetically very appealing. On the other hand, it should provide a lot of facilities and comfort to not just people who are abled, but also disabled, or whatever it may be. We call it as Divyang. So in this particular point of time, there is another issue. There is another point also that I want to raise, because India has been developing its infrastructure assets enormously in the last 20 years, 25 years. So as a result, we have a lot of metro stations, we have a lot of airports, we have a lot of power stations, a lot of things. So it is also important for us to protect all these assets. And this is where actually the government spending on defense services becomes very, very critical, and they are already doing it. So because we can't have world-class infrastructure in our country without being protected by defense services. Otherwise, it is like infrastructure without any guard. So, and that is extremely dangerous. And unfortunately, the government has realized that. As soon as it came to power in 2014, and they have now the recent Operation Sindoor has proved that India
Yeah,
is
you're right
capable of
about that. Let
defending
me
its
also
assets.
get other voices in. Mr. Dikshu Kukreja, town planner, also with us on the program. Mr. Kukreja, having these stations beautified and creating that atmosphere which is infused with our nation's culture and legacy is the best thing that can be done. If you go to foreign countries like Paris and Moscow and other parts of Eastern and Western Europe, they usually do infuse their culture with their transportational infrastructure. That's exactly what India is doing, sir.
Great point, Vinny. Thank you. I must say that, when you look at railway stations, of course, I will agree with my co-panelists on the aspect that this is a wonderful initiative. It's a great service to the nation. It's something which has been much needed, much required, reflects the country's progress and march towards Vix Bharat. All of that is perfectly fine. But if we roll back and look at the turn of 20th century, and precisely the point that you made, places like railway stations were synonymous with the architecture, the built environment, the identity of a city. And therefore, whatever gets created needs to still reflect that in the 21st century. And I would say, more than a theme which was just mentioned, I think it's about the contextual architecture that needs to come out when you design such large public spaces or infrastructure projects like railway stations in a city. They must be able to reflect the people, the culture, the climate, the history of that particular area. And that is what will bring it the diversity and the unique identity that each railway station architecturally is able to demonstrate. So that's one aspect that is important. But I would also like to here bring a word of caution and a different perspective from what has been discussed so far. And I would use the analogy of boarding a bullet train. Surely some of our stations will, in years to come, have actually bullet trains running there. But my point here is that when we create these enormous number of stations that our large country requires, we don't need to really run at the pace of a bullet train, because what we are creating are going to be landmarks, buildings which are going to outlive each one of us today. So these buildings need to be built with care, caution, and really with that kind of passion. Right now, what happens in some of the infrastructure that I see being built is, it's great. The initiative is something is completely laudable, but the quality, the capital cost going into it also is fairly generous. But the outcome of some of these buildings, I'm involved with the design of some large mega infrastructure projects in the country, and 5 or 10 years later, when one looks at those buildings, dare I say, a couple of years later, after I have designed and the building is operational, the buildings start falling apart. And the problem with that is that while we are investing so much in the capex of a project, the operational costs or maintenance budgets which these kind of projects require are somewhere not getting that kind of attention. And therefore, this large investment that is going starts sort of weathering out or falling apart just in a matter of few years. And that is a worrisome factor for me, that these infrastructure projects, you can reduce the capital budget or capital outlay slightly if you need to, but please, the operational costs, maintenance costs of these projects is equally important as just building them is concerned. That's one aspect. The second aspect is somewhere hand in hand. It might sound philosophical, but believe me, it's equally important. Is how do we change the mindset of people and bring in that civic sense which is required. When you look at the way these public buildings are used, you enter into the toilets and you see that it's a dismay, just looking at the sight of them just in a couple of years. I went for the inauguration of a large project, and when the inauguration was taking place, obviously that building had started somehow being in use for a few weeks before that, and already the signs were showing. So this kind of, sort of destruction of our public infrastructure is a shame. And I think we need to start bringing the civic sense. And you know what? It's not impossible. Many of us refer to the good example of Delhi Metro, how that's been able to hold itself in spite of the large number of people that use it. So that's another important aspect that we need to see. And last but not the least, I would say that, whatever we are creating, this infrastructure must be sustainably designed. We cannot keep building at the cost of tree cutting and other environmental hazards. I want to give you an example of a couple of stations that we designed here at CP Kukreja Architects. One of them is the Gandhinagar railway station in the project in which we were involved, which was very unique, that while the railway lines, the trains were running, there was a magnificent 5-star hotel which has been built right above those railway tracks. The station holds a large 5-star hotel. So anything and everything is possible. But again, my concluding remarks would be that let's keep building this great infrastructure for the city, but let's also remember that we have to handle it responsibly, and we have to take care of it and allocate the right budgets to make sure that it's shining for years to come, much like we see many Western railway stations. Even today, the Grand Central in New York, or the King's Cross in London, or many other iconic railway stations that came up probably a century later. They went through modernization, but they are still standing symbols of dignity of the city.
Absolutely. Great points there. Professor Singh, we obviously have to cater to a large part of the population. And how important is sustainability and the environment important when it comes to creating these stations, because obviously they have to last for a long time?
Yeah, what we have seen in this the last 11 years, a lot of development of infrastructure has taken place in the whole country. Now, this, if we see the roads or airport or railways, everywhere a lot of development has been done in the last 11-15 years. What changes we are just observing. If we take the case of the roads here, I used to come from Delhi to Kota earlier by the road, but now when this expressway, Delhi Bombay expressway has been started, so it has been changed. Same way, this, what is the condition of the railway stations? Even the railway station, most of the railway stations, redevelopment of the railway stations are being done. As if you see the condition of the railway stations earlier and what condition is now. So there is entirely different everywhere. The whatever development, either you take the airports. What were the condition of the airports in earlier, and now what is the condition of the airports now? So lot of difference has taken place, and now when we talk about the Vixit Bharat 2047, just we are on the right way of that Vixit Bharat 2047. So the development which is taking in our country is so fast, and also this is taking place in all the areas. Even either you take the roads, either you take the case of airports, either you take the railway stations, or in the you take the case of the metro. Everywhere tremendous development has taken place, and also now the number of Vande Bharat trains and Amrit Bharat trains has been introduced. So even we can see the quality of trains are also changed. Earlier, when we had to go by the train, then we had to think many times. But now, if we had to go by trains, by these trains, then quality is so better than the earlier. So we had not to think. Same way, if we take the case of the roads, earlier by traveling by the roads was we had to think. But now when this expressways and highways development has taken place so much, if we had to go from Delhi to Bombay, even now we can think by traveling by the road. Earlier it was, even we cannot not think for that. So whatever development has taken place, this is definitely the sustainability should be there. When all these development will be done, so it should be sustainable. And also, if we talk about the infrastructure development, government has done a lot of funds for the infrastructure development. And if we talk about the expenditure, this infrastructure expenditure is increased by the 6 times what whereas the earlier. So sustainability, I don't think there will be much sustainability problem. Whatever development is being done, its operation and maintenance will be also proper. And in coming days, what we will observe, all these facilities will be the world class. Even now, all whatever infrastructure is being developed, all are the world class. We are not behind the any other countries. If we talk about the infrastructure, whatever development has taken place in last 10-15 years. So everybody, all these things are observed. If we take the case of the railways, in railways itself, a lot of development has taken place. The quality of the road, quality of the railway tracks, quality of the speed of the trains, even quality of the coaches where we travel, all are tremendously, it has been improved. And also the railway stations, if we see the condition of the railway stations, if it is hygienic or other aspect, this is much better than earlier. And I tell you, if most of the work for the redevelopment of the railway stations is being done in the country, and where this development has already taken in big in some places, we can see the changes. And the major thing what is being seen in the railway stations, their art and culture has been taken care. So there will be a lot of when development is being done, for that reason, whatever arts and culture is there, whatever other development is required, they are also being incorporated. So what development is taking place nowadays, this will be, in my opinion, it will be very much sustainable. And in coming days, our infrastructure, quality
All
of
right,
infrastructure will
enough,
be
sir.
much better than
Appreciate
that.
all the voices and the inputs that we got. Thank you, gentlemen, for being a part of this holistic conversation. We're going to take a short break on that note. We'll be right back.